Hey there, I wanted to give a special introduction to this episode of Small Business Big Visibility. I'm interviewing Dennis. He has the most amazing life story. We're going to break it into two separate episodes. This guy grew up with an abusive father. He joined the Navy. He became special forces in the Navy. He was a police officer, personal friends with Colonel Sanders. This guy became friends with mobsters. He was also at another time threatened by another mob family. He has been traveled all over the world and has created a number of products, sold multiple businesses. His life story is incredible. So this is part one of a two-part series. Let's jump in. Welcome to Small Business Big Visibility. I'm excited to introduce Dennis Clark. He has lived a lifetime of adventure, unlike most anyone that you'll ever meet. If you stack up 5 normal people, I don't think that their life is half as exciting as his has been. And I think that we'll just touch on a few key areas from it, but I'm really excited for Dennis to share some of his stories and some of his experiences and some of his wisdom that he's gathered over the years. So Dennis, let's take it clear back to the beginning. You grew up in a junkyard, right?
Well, I grew up, my dad worked in a junkyard. And I grew up in Fort Dodge, Iowa. And he worked for Fort Dodge Iron and Metal.
Oh, okay.
And then he had a little construction on the side that was nothing but junk tractors, crap that he picked up, you know.
Sure.
So we spent a lot of time fixing them and a lot of time working with them and breaking them and then fixing them again and then going for some more, you know. Yeah.
And growing up, you spent a lot of time in sports when you weren't working, right?
Well, in sports, yes. I started wrestling in junior high school. I was, I think, if I remember right, I think it was 93 pounds in the 6th grade. And I wrestled all the way through high school till I graduated from high school, 6 years. And I went undefeated for 6 years on the wrestling team. Staying after school and training was my way of not going home or working for my old man. See?
Gotcha.
Yeah, that was much easier to go through the training and wrestling than it was to go home and dig a basement that we never moved in, you know, that kind of thing, see.
Oh, wow, right.
Yeah.
Now, growing up, you also operated a ton of equipment as a kid, right?
My dad started training my brothers and I. I had an older brother, Joe, at the time, and then myself, and then my younger brother, Conrad, and my younger sister, Patty. I had a half-brother named Jack, and Jack started first, and then Joe, then I started. And by the time I started, I learned a lot of what not to do by what they were doing, and we're in trouble all the time, you know. I took a lot of the blame for the stuff that they did that was wrong because I didn't know how to get out of it, see.
Oh, right.
But I learned how, you know, and then the minute I graduated from high school, I was in the Navy within a week.
Wow.
I was not going to work for my dad any longer, and I decided I want to get out of that environment. The only social life I ever had was on the wrestling team. I didn't know what a social life meant in those days. I had no idea how important social life is when you're a young person, to learn how to deal with other people, how to play with kids, how to get along, without being the boss all the time, without trying to, you know, improve something all the time, see?
Right, right.
And as I went through life, I found out that's not the way to gain knowledge. It's a way of losing it. People that can teach you won't be around long if you don't treat them right.
Gotcha.
And in order to treat them right, you have to listen to them. And if you listen to them the right way, you'll learn, and you'll progress, see? And I was lucky enough that, I guess I had that instinct somewhere along the line. But we started working at a very, very young age. We got into the junk. My dad had a job at a junkyard running a magnet, that drag line deal, running the magnet, you know, the crane. And then we had an old Chevy flatbed truck he bought somewhere along the line, and we would take that out and buy used farm equipment.
Oh, okay.
Cut it up with a chisel and a hammer, load it all by hand, take it down to the junkyard and sold it every day. At the end of the day, we'd sell whatever we had. And that was our first business experience. I was probably 14 by that time or something. By that time, we could run almost any bulldozer or drag line. There were no excavators in those days. They had backhoes. But everything was done with a drag line or a dozer or a grader, road grader, all run by hand.
Sure.
And my dad run all that equipment and told us kids to do it so we could go with him and keep track of the work that was done. I was fairly good at math, so I had to go with him sometimes on his jobs and figure out how much dirt he moved in a day and so on, see?
Gotcha.
And while I was doing it, he had a half-track backhoe that came from the Army, which was a half-track, Front wheels like a car you could turn.
Oh, okay.
But it had a backhoe scoop on it, see?
Right.
And we dug a lot of drains for the farmers, put into drainage ditches in. A lot of farms in Iowa, as you know. And we tore bridges out with dynamite, learned explosives and that kind of thing.
But then getting to be 18, you were gone like a shot, right?
Yeah, I was not going to be working for my old man anymore, you know.
Right.
He drank too much, didn't treat my family right, didn't treat my mom right. I didn't like any part of that. The minute I was old enough, I graduated, and 1 week later I was on a bus leaving with the Navy on the buddy pop program they had. You know, you can be with your friend if you join the Navy.
Right.
So I joined the Navy, I was gone. Yeah, and that's when my life really began. And from what I had learned growing up, I didn't know how valuable that would be to me in the years to come. Right. The most important lesson that I ever learned from my father, well, there was more than one, but the main one was he taught all of his kids how to work. He didn't believe in school too much. But he taught us how to work and be honest, you know, and so on. But I was very, very lucky that I had a good coach on the wrestling team. And when we got out of school in the afternoon, when we got home, we had some work of some kind to do.
Right.
You know, we would move to another new place, put a little house on it, build it or whatever. Dug a basement one time by hand with shovels, and then fill it back up because he didn't like it or something, you know. I didn't need to do any more of that. I thought that was not a very good time well spent, you know.
Right.
But I learned, we always lived on a river bottom somewhere. I learned to swim at a very, very young age and spent a lot of time in the creek and the river, the Des Moines River and the Lizard Creek in Fort Dodge, Iowa. And I spent a lot of time swimming in that water. That's kind of helped me with my Navy career a little bit. You know?
I bet, yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, what was that like moving to the Navy and
Well, I made a few mistakes right off the get-go, you know. I didn't get too far. I think we got to Lake Okoboji, if I remember right. And I was in a fist fight before I knew it. I didn't know how to not get in trouble. But anyway, you learn as you go along in those deals. I took some special training in the Navy. I went to school. I always wanted to be a pilot. So I took some special school when I got out of boot camp, the Navy Training Center there. The day that we graduated and took the final test, I ruptured my appendix, or the day before or something. Anyway, I was in pain. I didn't take the test very well, and I got low grades. I got to take the test over, and then I got like third from the highest. And in those days, you could go to Pensacola, Florida, and go to NAVCAT training school if you were under 19 years old. If you were 19 or older, you couldn't go.
Oh, okay.
And I was under 19 when I took the test. But when the results come back and did all that, because I had my appendix taken out, I was in the hospital. My class moved on, and I stayed behind because the first time I took the test, I got a very, very bad score. And when I took it the second time, I got number 3 out of the class. But my birthday was March the 4th. The test results didn't come back until the first part of April.
Oh, no.
And I was 19 then. Now and then I couldn't go to Pensacola because I was 19. And you couldn't go to that NAVCAT training unless you were under 19.
Right.
So I got an attitude about that and took the wrong streets for a while there, you know. I was stationed in San Diego, temporary duty, till I got a ship out of there at the USS Ajax. And when I got my Navy scores back and wanted to go to Pensacola, they wouldn't let me go, of course.
Right.
In those days, you didn't protest. Nobody protested anywhere in those days. But I decided to get even with the Navy, and I took a little vacation into Mexico for about a week.
Oh, wow.
The chief I had at the time was a really nice guy, and I had done some stuff that was beneficial to me, and I didn't know it. He and some friends of mine, I went to Mexico for a week, and they talked me into coming back. I came back and gave myself up, and I spent a little time in the brig, of course, for that deal. But I got stationed on the USS Ajax. I got to go through some special training and was assigned the 111 Mine Division in Sasebo, Japan.
Oh, wow.
Which was part of the UDT teams at the time, but because of my swimming and and all that stuff, I kind of gotten to like it. But I got a chance to run the cranes on board the USS Ajax because of my equipment experience when I was a kid, see?
Right.
And so, and I took advantage of that. I won't get into details, but it was a pretty good position to have.
Sure.
Because the captain's gig had to be loaded on and off the ship every time he wanted to go someplace almost, when we moved harbors, you know.
Yep.
And I was the only guy who could run that crane to put them in the boat, put the boat in the water, put it back on board. I loaded supplies. I could run those big cranes like real easy, nothing to it. See, it just was a natural thing for me.
Yep. Yep.
Because of my training when I was a kid, you know.
Yep.
I learned that if there's certain things that have priorities and get you ahead, that's what you look to do. And because I had to learn how to work and I knew things, you know, it helped me get from point A to point B, and the attitude changed. I got with the boat division with the UDT. Navy frogmen teams and run their boats for them. We got stationed with the 111 Mine Division in Sasebo, Japan, and we only worked about 1 week out of the month because it was all secret stuff we were doing.
Sure.
And I got into a little argument with the Portuguese man of war down in Guam, or I think it was Guam or Okinawa, one of the two anyway. That put me in the hospital for about a week. The tentacles were like 26 foot long when they got them peeled off me. Great big Portuguese man of war. And my swim partner saved my life on that deal. I had a chance.
It wrapped all the way around.
It literally wrapped all around me, around my midsection, my leg. I still got scars on my wrist here, but my swim partner, Jack, at the time. Jack called me the other day from Denver, as a matter of fact. But anyway, he pulled me out of that water, and we had rented a little sailboat, was going to learn how to sail. Spotted some ladies on the beach. We decided that would be more fun than sailing. So in the process of going to those gals, I got tangled up in this man of war and da-da-da. Anyway, just a big jellyfish. But I didn't know anything about it, but we learned real quick.
Yeah.
When I got through it, got out of the hospital, I could go back into the regular Navy and get out of Special Forces. At that time, we got like $50 a month extra hazardous duty pay in those days.
Yeah.
But I went back in the regular Navy, and for some reason, I got a desire to learn. When I graduated from high school, I was very, very lucky that if I hadn't been the 6 years champion wrestler for Fort Dodge High School, I would have never gotten graduated, I don't think. Because my GPA was 1.333, see?
Oh, wow.
Really a killer. Yeah, I was a genius. Genius at work, you know. But anyway, for some reason, I got a desire to start to learn something. I don't know what made that happen, but I went back in the regular Navy and spent the rest of my time until I got discharged in the Navy schools. I took everything from electricity to drawing, architectural work, the refrigeration and conditioning technology. I just loved to study and read. I graduated, I went up the rate pretty good. I graduated second class machinist mate, and got accepted to Oklahoma State University, I believe it was, with 10 hours of credit to my good. Went to school the minute I got out of the Navy. Got married in the meantime. Went to school there. After 6 months of that, I got kicked out of there because my grade point average wasn't good enough. I wasn't capable of learning anything by their numbers.
Right.
And that upset me a little bit. They wanted me to go to a trade school. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. So I kept searching around. Meantime, I got married, had a couple of kids. I went to the University of Arizona, Tucson, and they kicked me out because I wasn't capable of learning anything. Yet I got 10 hours of credit to my good when I went to the university by the letters they got from the Navy, how much I had learned, you know.
Right.
By going to all these trade schools and that. Anyway, I finally wound up going to a trade school and graduated and was in refrigeration and conditioning work. Some guy came in, I worked for a restaurant supply company designing and building restaurants and different things. A guy came in our place by the name of John Selgin, and I worked for a restaurant supply company in Tucson, Arizona. And this guy sold us some soap. I was repairing refrigerators in the back room, and my boss said, listen, I want you to go sell this soap. I said, I don't think I can do that. I don't know anything about selling, you know.
Yeah.
Well, long story short, he taught me a little bit. I made some calls with him, sold all the soap. wound up getting a divorce. He and I started a business together, Tucson Restaurant Equipment Supply Company, Tucson Restaurant Equipment Service Company. We both got divorced at the same time, gave our wives the business. I really gave mine the business because I had an attorney and I didn't have any money, so I put the carpet in his house and we charged it with my boss and I started a restaurant supply company business as partners. And I charged the carpet to the business, but then when I got divorced, I gave my wife the business. We split it up and gave it to our wives. My wife's mom wasn't real happy that they got stuck with that bill for that carpet from my attorney, the divorce bill. By that time, I was going out of Tucson, back to California, started in construction, and I went to a food show for some reason. And I met the guy that was selling those chemicals that came to us and sold it to us in Tucson. And that's how I met him, John Selgin. And he was selling stuff out of his booth at the food show. And I went, man, this guy's making a lot of money here, you know. At the time, I was driving bulldozers and driving dump trucks for the construction company in Alameda, California. I'll never forget, I was making $5.50 an hour. And we worked 10-hour shifts, 24 hours a day off for work, and we'd shift off and all that. But when that did, we built the levees, built some flood project over in Alameda, California at the time. But when that job finished, I bought some inventory from the guy at the food show. I still got my invoices, in fact, in my drawer there.
Wow.
And I bought some product. I went to the food show. He was selling out of his booth, selling this oven cleaner that we sold in Tucson.
Right.
I was making $5.50 an hour driving a bulldozer.
Okay.
And an H100 loader and driving bottom dump doubles, semis, building a big ramp out in the bay for a dock or something. I forget now. But anyway, I bought all the stuff the guy had left over from his show, and put an order in for some more because I sold it right away. I was running around with a buddy of mine. His father owned a restaurant in Alameda. And this product it was sold like candy. I mean, it was just unbelievable. But it was a good product.
Sure.
But I didn't know anything about, what I learned selling restaurant equipment. It was very little. I mean, it all helped me. It all put it all together, and it gave me like a foot in the door kind of thing.
Yeah.
I remember I bought enough to start a little business of selling products. A company I named Dickey Distributing Company. I couldn't come up with a name. I had to buy some dress pants that were Dickies, so I called it Dickey Distributing. Original, huh?
Pretty good.
Anyway, I remember the guy that had the restaurant in Alameda, California, a center for the Oakland Raiders at the time, at the football team at the time. They were a West Coast team. They were there was no NFL in those days, but anyway.
Sure.
He and I became buddies. We became partners, started this little company selling. I went from restaurant to restaurant selling soap. And his family was, they owned the garbage company and bakeries and all kinds of stuff. Knew everybody in the, in fact, they knew everybody in the restaurant business. He and I were partners. We sold a lot of oven cleaner,
Oh, right, yep.
And it helped me get started, see. And from there, I just kind of built, my first shipment of product came in I had to send it up on a Greyhound bus. I didn't know anything about freight lines.
Oh, okay.
What a rube, I'm telling you. But anyway, I brought it up on a Greyhound bus, and I borrowed his dad's pickup truck. His dad signed a note for me at the bank for $300 so I could finally buy a pickup, I think, if I remember right. Or some inventory, I forget now. His dad was one of the mafia bosses. His grandfather was the boss, I think, for the Bay Area at the time. And that's how we got started. They owned bakeries, restaurants, all kinds of stuff. They owned farms up in the wine country. I didn't know anything about the wine country at all in those days. I had a lot of elbows rubbed with these people, but they had no idea what I was doing. I remember when my mom came out to visit me one time or something, and she wanted to meet him. And she met his dad, and then his grandfather, and there was a wedding. I think one of them got married. I don't remember now who it was. But I went to the wedding, and my mom went with me, and it was just like in the movies. The cars drove up. These guys got out. The big bosses got out.
Yeah.
They all had their guns. I mean, it was unbelievable. But anyway, my mom was just horrified, and I just thought it was neat. A lot of fun here, Anyway, I finally decided one day that I wasn't getting anywhere with this deal, so I just changed my life completely and moved out to Walnut Creek, California. And I went to work for Walgen Products, the company that we originally bought the products from in Tucson. I went to work as a West Coast salesman for him.
Oh, okay.
Became sales manager rather quickly. And then before you know it, I was just going all over the country selling stuff. And this was in 1967, 68. I couldn't make it in my little distributing company because Ronnie, my partner, we couldn't stay out of trouble long enough. I finally had to move out of Alameda to Walnut Creek, start over. And every Wednesday night, he and I would do the town and wind up in a fight someplace,
Gotcha.
And he was just too tough for me. I couldn't handle that deal, see. I wouldn't get any place. And I was breaking my wristwatches all the time, had black eyes, crap. That wasn't working out, I was doing all the sales. He was giving all the products for samples away to the girls. They owned the bar that would come into the tavern. He gave everybody free stuff,
Gotcha.
Well, that's not how you do a business. See, how the hell did I know, Anyway, I started over in Walnut Creek, California. Got a little warehouse out there, rented a place from a guy that was what came over from Holland, an immigrant family. And he worked for the phone company. They had a little home with a little apple orchard in the back. And there was a horse barn back there with 2 or 3 stalls, if I remember right. I rented one of the stalls for $12 a month when I started. At one time, I was 2 months behind in the rent. Can you imagine that?
For a horse stall.
Yeah. Well, I've cleaned it up and made it into a warehouse. I didn't have any,
Sure.
I poured some cement, made a floor.
Oh, okay.
And I built a dock with some forms that one of my hunting buddies had a company, and they had printing presses. His construction put in and built a great big newspaper plant.
Oh, okay.
And the presses came in on these big platforms, and he gave me the platforms. I built a loading dock on them.
Gotcha.
And that was my first platform. And I bought a 200-gallon plastic tank from a tank company in Minnesota. And I was a proud poppy for that. I had a mixing tank, and I took a drill and put some steel rod with threads on it, and took some tinfoil and made 2 propeller blades and screwed them on the bottom. Stuck that 3/4 inch drill down, put the 2x4s across, made an X, put the drill in there and turned it on and stirred that. And that was my first mixing tank, 200 gallons.
Wow.
Until that time, I took broom handles and stuck in barrel drums and stirred with that,
Gotcha.
And I still got some pictures of all that in there. But I turned that barn into, they turned it into a chicken house. I turned it into a business, a warehouse. Had dirt floors in it and all that stuff. But I put cement in, made a loading dock, and started my business right there, When I was with Walgen Products, the guy that manufactured the first soaps that I sold, I met the colonel, put the colonel through my reps in Jackson, Mississippi.
And when you say the colonel, you're talking Colonel Sanders.
Colonel Sanders. Well,
yeah.
My reps was C. Rollins Brown Jr., Dan Bounds, and Bill Gilmore. They were the most professional rep firm I've ever met in all my years in business, over 50 years now. They were the best professional team that I ever worked with.
Yeah.
And C. Rollins Brown Jr., he had a 310 Cessna airplane. He drove that every day just like you drive your car.
Wow.
I spent a week flying with him all over the South. He introduced me to Colonel Sanders. That's how he's the guy that helped me put the Colonel Sanders program together. When I met the Colonel, we became friends. And that's my picture of he and I up there. That was taken in 1969.
Oh, okay.
I was 30 years old then.
Wow.
Yeah, and he helped me tremendously. I met all of his franchisees all over the United States. We developed the product for cleaning their Venturi tubes in the stoves and so on. The stainless steel polish, so on. I developed all the product. Fire cleaner I developed for him. That was the real start. it was so successful with the people I worked with C. Rollins Brown. I think I was on the road one time for 27 days, if I remember. I forget now what it was. I stayed at Dan Bounds, or Bill Gilmore's house in Jackson, Mississippi. He set me up with all of his dealers in New Orleans, all the South down there. I met all those people, wonderful people. That's when they made me a Kentucky Colonel. Colonel Sanders got to help do that deal.
Wow.
I was really somebody then, you know. I'm working for a commission. Became a Kentucky Colonel, Christ's sake, selling soap.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But I was blessed by meeting some wonderful, you know. Rollins Brown asked me one day, we were flying over Texas or Florida, when he turned to come around, we were going to land someplace, and he said, we flew over the water, and he said, you see all them yachts down there? I said, yeah. He said, well, you know, he said, Dennis, somebody owns all those. Those are the guys that taught me what money was. I didn't have a clue. I thought I did, but I really didn't.
Yeah.
And those are the guys that taught me how to let people buy something from you instead of you trying to sell something to them, you see?
Right.
Speaking the Cajun language was another thing. Bill Gilmore had that part of the country was his for the product line. He worked for Frymaster Fryers. I forget their line. They had top of the line equipment. Mm-hmm. And those were all the Colonel used that in every one of his stores. See, those days.
Right.
The franchising just started then. And so they were very busy, and I made deep fryer cleaner for all those guys, and hood cleaners, all kinds of stuff, you know. And when Rollins said, you see all those boats down there? I said, yeah. He said, well, somebody owns every one of those. Mm-hmm. Those guys taught me what real money was, what life was all about, you know. The education I got working with Rollins Brown, I can't compare with anything I learned the rest of my life.
Wow.
The foundation that they gave me through their experiences was the most beautiful thing that I think I've ever been able to do, mm-hmm. was to work with them, and they showed me trained me how to teach people that they needed what we had to sell. And we allowed them to buy it from us instead of trying to sell it to them, see?
Yep.
And that's the whole key to success. To whatever success I have today started with the plants were planted with them, you know?
Yep.
My boss didn't have a clue. We had a product that was better than anyone like it in the world. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know how he got it, but he did. But he wasn't exactly a square shooter, I found out later on. He took big time advantage. I made him a lot of money, and he owed me money. When I met a young lady that I was going to get married with in 1968 or 69, somewhere in there. And I think it was in 68. But anyway, when I went to get the money he owed me, he didn't want to pay me.
Oh, no.
And he let me go and give me 100 cases of oven cleaner because he was afraid I was becoming too close to the customers, too friendly, learning too much, selling too much product, too much control, see?
Yeah.
And I had no idea to take over his company. I wouldn't know what to do. I took the 100 cases of oven cleaner and went to a lawyer and was going to sue him. And the lawyer said, don't sue him because you're not ever going to get your money. It's going to break you, and you're going to wind up with nothing. So I didn't do it, you know. Mm-hmm. It was my friends, when they found out what happened, they said, why don't you start your own company and do what you did for him, do it for yourself. Well, I don't know how to do it. Well, you did it for him. Well, I said, yeah, but I didn't know how to. I thought chemistry was a secret. You know, it was a big deal. This oven cleaner that we have was the best product in the world. And I thought it would cost millions of dollars to do what he was doing. Mm-hmm. He was selling water for a lot of money.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and when I found out the truth, and I got a chemist through a friend of mine that was introduced to me by my insurance man. Mm-hmm. Man by the name of Joseph Vostog. And he came in he stuck out of the Iron Curtain under a bus, wired up to a chain to the bottom of the bus somehow with his paperwork. And he worked for a shipping company. I forget the name now, but anyway. I met him through my insurance company, his friend, and he's a chemist, and he helped me develop my formulas.
Wow.
And we made an oven cleaner that was better than the one that I had. Uh-huh. And that was my first product that I made by myself, was that. Mm-hmm. And he helped me all the way down the road. But it was people like those people that taught me step by step how to do what I do today. I had no idea. I had no education, no formal education. Mm-hmm. I was very introverted. I was afraid to talk to people. I had nothing to talk about except getting a beating from my old man.
Gotcha.
Or digging in the basement with a shovel, you know what I mean?
Right.
Not a real interesting conversation at a party, you know what I mean? I didn't socialize because I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
As the time grew on and people reached out to help me with so many things, I remember 5.5 weeks it was when I left. It was with the Relentless Bound in the South. I stayed with Bill Gilmore at his home in a Airstream trailer. I'll never forget it. And that's one of the longest trips I ever stayed without going home. But I would over those guys all the way down through New Orleans. They taught me, introduced me to all these beautiful people, and I stayed in touch with these people. Trained their people how to sell oven cleaner, how to demonstrate it more than anything. Mm-hmm. And through those demonstrations and meeting those wonderful people, I learned what selling meant. Instead of trying to sell something, allow somebody, go find out what their problem is, see if you can solve it for them. If you do make a product or something that works, when it works to their approval, then you figure out what it's going to cost. If it's worth it, they'll buy it. If it isn't, they won't. And if they buy it, then you make some money on it, then that's the way to go, see?
Yep.
And that's how I got started. But it was through Relentless Brown, Dan Bound, Bill Gilmore, Jack, he and the Colonel were pals. Jack, I forget his last name, he was a founder. He invented franchising. He franchised a hospital.
Oh, wow.
And he was a friend of the Colonel. That's how John Y. Brown, the president of KFC at the time, when they bought when they bought the Colonel Sanders program, they put the franchising program together, see? Mm-hmm. In those days, franchising was a bad word.
Oh, okay.
You couldn't give one away.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. If you had a franchise, you were a thief.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was very interesting how that all transpired. But that's how I learned all about the marketing business, was through those people.
Sure.
F.T. Corson and Jack Massey were the two people that hired me when I got the Walgen Products Company. Let me go because the boss figured I was getting too close to his pocket. Mm-hmm. He owed me money. I was going to get married. He wouldn't give me my money. Ugly story. You don't want to get into that. But anyway, Jody Corson asked me if I'd work for them. They wanted to build a chemical company and supply Kentucky Fried Chicken for one, but there's other deals. They introduced me to the people that started Holiday Inn.
Oh, okay.
You know, I forget the family now, but anyway. Really good people. They belonged to the IMA, Institution of America, which you had to join if you wanted to sell them because it was a buying group. In those days, it was brand new. That was brand new in those days. Mm-hmm. But I did that. I set up the distribution for Joe F.T. Corson. He had 4 other corporations in Texas, and he had a photography company. He imported carnival equipment from Europe.
Wow.
Yeah, he was an interesting guy. He and his partners were the founders of Northwest Airlines before it was Northwest. Mm-hmm. But he hired me when I left Walgen. He hired me, made me a vice president, and turned me loose to set up all of Mexico. We set up all the distribution for Colonel Sanders when they made their first pre-flour purchasing program. Everybody blended seasoned flour in their own restaurant. Mm-hmm. John Y. Brown and Jack Massey figured out how they did that with their big plant.
Yeah.
And then they shipped in 25-pound bags. I did all this distribution setup for them in Mexico at the time. Met a lot of franchisees, knew almost all of them, and become friends with all of them. Mm-hmm. I was at the convention in Florida when Kentucky Fried Chicken went public, and all those guys that were gas station owners before that week became millionaires that week down there.
Wow.
Yeah, I was with a bunch of guys happy every night, hollering and raving. They all became very, very affluent because that was the stock. It went from like a nickel to $10 in 2 days or something,
Sure.
And that's when franchising became famous then. Mm-hmm. See, but I stayed with them until I started my own company in like 1969. Was when I really started getting into manufacturing. I outsourced what I could, and I rented that little barn in the back and started manufacturing my stuff in 55-gallon drums with a broom handle.
Right.
Stirring it up.
Yep.
Really, really professional.
But you also went and became a police officer too, right?
Well, when I got fired from the company in Texas that hired me, I love to hunt and fish. That's been my whole life.
Sure.
And I was told one day, my boss said, Dennis, you got to take your day. Your day is like this, he says. Right now, your day is you start here, you do a little work, get up, and here's hunting and fishing. Ooh. Then you stop, and then you finish up your work over here. He said, you need to get that. You need to hunt, fish, and you need to work this time. And I said, well, don't I get the job done? Yeah, I fired his son. That's when I learned what nepotism meant. See? Another deal you don't want to get too involved in. But anyway, when I got fired by them, that's when I started my company. It was in 1969, 1970. Well, I did every kind of job. I cleaned kitchens. That was not a smart move. I took a kitchen apart one night. The Stagecoach restaurant in San Francisco, great big beautiful restaurant. I tore the kitchen down on Saturday. It was in the Wells Fargo building. Stagecoach restaurant, so it fits there, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Anyway, I tore it all apart, cleaned it all up, and now I had to get it put back together, and I couldn't get it back together. I didn't pay attention when I took it apart. The floor drains were plugged up with grease that I shouldn't have put on the floor.
Oh no.
Sunday afternoon, I'm calling all my friends, come and help me. Everybody I knew that. Then I had my buddies, lady friends, everybody came and helped me. We got it cleaned up, got the drains working, everything working, got the stoves put back together by about 3:30 in the morning on Monday. The chef comes in at 4 o'clock. Now, we had the stoves running, but they were not all right. They were running properly. They had blue flames, yellow flames. We finally got it fixed. The chef was not happy with me. I came back later that day and met the owner, and he paid me, and he said, Dennis, sometimes you might want to stay in your own backyard to play, I said, yes, you're right. I never cleaned any more kitchens to this day. I learned a lesson from that, really, really good lesson. Don't mess around with something you don't know about. Mm-hmm. But we got it done. Thank you for the friends that I had that helped me. I mean, we were greasy, dirty. They were scrubbing the floors finally, got everything cleaned up. Oh, mess. Well, I had a mess going. But I learned from that. And that was just try to do what you know. Learn from that. I did every kind of job I could. My buddies, I had some buddies that was in the sheriff's department in Contra Costa County, and we boogied a lot together, had fun. My nickname was Buck because I hunted all the time, But they said, "Hey, Buck, you ought to join the sheriff's department. We could use you in our reserve department. We need some direction over there." I said, "Oh man, you don't want me. Well, it turns out I joined. They accepted me, and I got in, and I worked. It wasn't long I was running, but I took 6 months. My first 6 months, I worked shifts at the county jail because you have to learn the language. So that's where you start. And all the bookies, or the newbies go to jail first. Learn that. Yep. And then I worked on the street for a while. And then pretty soon I had my own unit driving, a patrol car. But I was 7.5 years in the COCO SO, they call it, Contra Costa County Sheriff's Office. But I went through the ranks pretty good there. Had a pretty outstanding record. The last 3 years, I think I worked on the patrol boats up in the Delta because of my Navy experience.
Oh, right.
When I ran all the mic boats for the Navy frogmen, see? Mm-hmm. So I had a pretty good gig there. And I think 7.5 years I spent in the Sheriff's Department. I did whatever I could to pay my rent to support myself.
Yeah.
I had no income. I had my little distributing company still selling soap. I had to sell 1 gallon at a time because I got paid cash for that. If I sold a case for $38, I'd done pay 30 days. I couldn't wait 30 days because I didn't have any money. I'd go down and buy bottles one at a time, plastic bottles. Then I could buy a case of 12, Wow. Then when I bought a van, I could buy 2 or 3 cases and put it in the van, see? But I did, I bought glue. I had a tape machine with a wheel and water in it that you pull the tape through it and got it wet. Mm-hmm. You don't run a manufacturing line with tape where you pull the tape off by hand, doesn't work too well.
Right.
I finally got one when he hit the button, zip, and the tape shot out. Man, I still got it. Yeah, and I got one that you hit a button and it cuts you 18 or 12 or 20 piece. Bam, 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 you could just really go,
Yeah.
Every time I did something like that, I was so proud that I made the next step. But I still had to fill everything by hand. I didn't have a hoist. I had no fork. I lift those big 600-pound barrels up. I made a sling out of cable, put it around a rafter, and then pull it up with a come along,
Oh, wow, yeah.
And I was hoping I wouldn't pull a wharf in. I'd get outside the table and set it back down, filling one jug at a time,
Yeah.
But that's just, my first order was with Nally Foods up in Tacoma, Washington, and it was 25 cases of oven cleaner, $12 a case.
Okay.
Now, when I sold for Wellington Products, it was $38.80 a case.
Oh, wow.
Now, when I tried to sell mine for $12, I had a problem. You know why? It couldn't be as good because it's too cheap.
Oh, right.
I couldn't deal with that. I mean, what do you mean? It's just a lot better what you're using. And it was a better product. But it took me a while to convince people. Once I sold it and they used it, then the reorders came.
Yep.
But I went up to, I went to Texas, I went up there, my office in Walnut Creek, California, in that orchard in the backyard. I went up there and met with Curtis R. Shelley, Vice President of Dallas at the time, and he gave me my first order for 25 cases. I was a rich baby, I'm telling you. Man, my competition was $38.80, and I'm a $12.80. I got off the $12.80 pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it wasn't working. They didn't believe me. When I showed them, then it was a different deal. But I couldn't do it all by myself and mix and fill. I put the labels on with a paintbrush and glue.
Yeah.
One at a time.
Oh, man.
Well, I mean,
doing what you could, though.
I'd show you pictures of what, my landlord, my rent was $12 a month, if I remember right. I was 2 months behind. And he worked for the phone company. He had a wife and two daughters. They came out and he told me, he called me up. I was out there on a Saturday when he was doing off. He came out to the little warehouse had in the back there. And he came out because I left the power on since Thursday. And when he got through giving me a haircut, I said, listen, I've been here. I haven't been out of here since Thursday because I got an order to fill 25 cases. And I had to do it all by myself. I had to mix them, fill them, label them, wipe the bottles all clean, box them, case them, tape by hand on that tape machine and then put them up so I can put them on a pallet and ship it, see.
Yeah.
I didn't have a forklift to put, I had to load it on semi-different,
Yep.
And when he saw what I was doing, his wife and his two daughters started coming out and helping me.
Wow.
I had to fill sample bottles, everything was done by hand with a spigot, turn this, boom, boom. I mean, I couldn't, when I got nowhere to buy my first table and build it out of plywood and with 4x4s with legs, they would hold a 55-gallon drum, and I could buy the spigot so you could turn it over and hit them and bam. I was in heaven, I'm telling you. But little by little, I put that deal together. I finally got a filling machine I didn't know existed. And it was just a tank with a bunch of siphon tubes hanging in it. And you put the tubes in and filled it up with your product to a certain level. And when you take a gallon jug and set it in there, it pushed up a little piece and filled the jug up until it came to the bottom of that nozzle.
Oh, right.
And then that would stop the flow. You could take it down, then the ball valve stopped and cut it off. And you could fill them, boom, 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 bam, bam. That's an automatic filler for me. I was big league. Big league, I'm telling you. But that's how and when I moved out of Walnut Creek, I couldn't afford to pay my $12 a month rent anymore. I needed more space. I was getting more products. I was now buying the carbon off from a company in Ohio, filling them all by hand in a spigot, till I could get Joseph Vossag to help me make a formula. I finally got it done. It took me 5 years to get the formula done, see?
Wow.
And when I did, then that was another revolution. I met a guy that worked for Kmart as a store, one of the regional guys. I cleaned the Kmart equipment in the kitchen in Concord, California. He liked it. He gave me the name of the boss in Detroit. Little by little, I worked my way up through that ranks until I was talking to the guy by the name of Paul Swisher, that was a director of food service at the time, and I got several stores that I got to test in, but I couldn't get a purchase order through.
Oh, okay.
And when I finally found out what they were buying and what they were paying, and the grill cleaner they were buying, they were paying way too much money for.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as good as mine. And I knew the company that they were buying it from was down in the valley. And the reason they were buying it was because the purchasing guy that was buying it was getting a kickback.
Oh, gotcha.
And I figured it out, see. And so I told the vice president of the regional guy that I was working with, I said, listen, I forget his name now, but anyway, they were nice people. I said, you guys got a thief in your apartment, your purchasing agent, and nobody's going to get this business as long as that guy's there, because he's going to put 2 bids in every year instead of 1. And the one that he really uses, he's getting paid kickback from the factory on. And I know he does because I know what he's buying. I know the formulas. I got the product and tested it with mine. I know what he's doing. See, I did a little homework on that. I was learning. This was all I'm learning. Everybody I met taught me something in those days.
Yeah.
What I didn't know was that I didn't know. When I started learning and I kind of got a taste of it, I realized, man, I'm learning something from these guys. I can pay more attention. And that manifested and grew into where we were when I sold the company, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But anyway, I finally got frustrated and wrote a letter to the chairman of the board of Kmart and said, I want to throw your file in the can. And I wrote it just like that, because you got a person in your purchasing department that's a thief, and I know it, and I proved it to your director of food service. You guys either you don't know it or you don't care. And I'm tired of knocking on your door and getting everything turned in my face and no everywhere when I got a better product. The guy that was working in the field called me. I was at a food show in Chicago. This is fate. This is how things funny happen. I got a phone call from Paul Swisher, who was the director of food service at the time. And he said, hey, Dennis, the chairman would like to meet you.
Oh, wow.
And see what this letter's all about. You wrote him. I said, well, and it ain't about nothing but the truth. He said, well, he wants to have dinner with you on Friday. If you can come up to Denver, he'll watch your demonstration in the store, and then we'll go from there. I said, I'll be there.
Wow.
I was at a food show in Chicago. I flew to Denver. I was due to fly back to Chicago on Friday night, though, for some reason. Anyway, I was booked on a DC-10 that left Chicago, lit in LA. I had to go down there for some reason or another. Anyway, I went to Denver, had dinner, we went in the store and I cleaned everything, and he said, wow, you're right, this is better than we have. And I said, and it's cheaper. He said, can you prove that? I said, yes, I can. I said, you got a bid coming up pretty soon. I'm going to give you 2 prices. I'm going to give you what I'll sell it to you at,